The Baseball Together Network presents the Philly Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Jason and Tory. And now, Philly Baseball Together.
All right, welcome to a very special episode of the Philly Baseball Together podcast. I'm Jason. I'm joined, as always, with my good friend Tory. How are you doing? Yeah, that's about it.
So we, this was an emergency, I think, well, obviously it was an emergency podcast because we just did one the other day, but not so good, especially not after last night, Now, of course, for those listening, obviously we're talking about the Phillies blowing a 7-run lead to the, in the ninth inning, of course, to, the Mets.
At least I'm going to be honest. This loss would sting no matter what team it was to.
Yes, but it hurts even worse that it's the Mets, though. And I hate to say it, they look good this year. And I think I said on our last session that I thought that having Scherzer was giving them a little bit of a swagger that they didn't have, and it's that's really been true. They've really proven themselves so far this year. Now, of course, it's only early May to be a legit threat, and the Phillies, as always, are folding faster than Superman on Laundry Day. So yeah,
I think I've texted you twice now about Ricky Pitalico because he's my spirit animal right now. I am so thoroughly disgusted with this team.
Yeah.
After last night, I'm questioning their heart. I really am.
Yeah. It's funny because I back in the days of and we talk about the 2008 team a lot, the 93 team a lot. And even then, we probably would have questioned their heart too, but they always rose to the occasion when it was necessary. I think if I remember correctly, especially with the 08 team and the 09 team, they were good, but not great until maybe around August. And then when it started to look like, okay, the Mets are going to pull away, of course they turned on the Jets, of course. And maybe because the going back to the Mets, they've thoroughly humiliated us twice. So twice in a week's time. We got no hit last week. And then of course this week we excuse me, we lost that huge lead last night.
I think it is unfair to credit the Mets with the embarrassment of this loss.
You think so?
I think the Phillies embarrassed themselves last night.
You know what? Maybe. Now but I remember this. So I remember back in 2007, when the Phillies came from behind to win the division, 7 back with 17 to go. Of course, we came back to win the division on the last day. And
it was a great day.
It was such a good day. But I remember Mets fans all over saying the same thing. Oh, well, the Phillies didn't win it. The Mets lost it. And I remember thinking to myself, no, because one doesn't happen without the other. The Mets could have gone 4-11, but it wouldn't have mattered had the Phillies gone 3-12 or something like that to finish the season. So I think that we can't put the loss on just the Phillies collapsing. I really, and I hate to give them too much credit, but I have to give credit to the Mets, for coming through. As much as it pains me to say that.
Well, they did what they were supposed to do. They did what any team is supposed to do in that situation, and it's take advantage.
Yes.
But it's on the Phils for creating that situation. Why was Norwood in?
Yeah.
He's at best a good minor league pitcher. I don't think he's good enough to be a reliever on a major league team. I understand he's there due to some injury concerns,
Yeah.
but at the same time, why are we going with him? And the only person who I think who I've come out with more respect for from this is Knievel, because he said, you know what, this is on me. It's my fault. And it's actually
Yeah.
not his fault. He inherited what Norwood left, and he did
Yep.
the best he could to fix it. But thank goodness for him for stepping up and saying, you know what, it's on me.
Well, I don't know why he just didn't, Girardi just didn't stick with Familia. I mean, Familia pitched well in the 8th inning. And I think the thought is that, when you have a 6-run lead, you're obviously not going to go right away to your closer. You're going to say like, okay, well, we're going to go with somebody who maybe, needs a little bit of, work, I guess, and because you would assume that with a 6-run lead, that's fine, that's safe, that, he'll come in, he'll get the 3 outs needed, and, everybody will go home happy. Well, obviously not, but I think his rationale was that Girardi thought the lead was probably safe. And, it's funny because I kept looking at the game and being like, I don't know, like they're up 7-0 right now. They're up 7-1 right now. But I had this feeling in my stomach that somehow the Phillies were going to blow it. And obviously, of course, they did. Maybe, who knows? Maybe I manifested it, with my negative thinking.
No,
So,
I think it's inherited in all Phillies fans.
yeah.
There just isn't a lot of faith in this team. And I went
No.
from 2 days ago thinking this team had a lot of potential based on how they were starting to come together. And then the bullpen just collapsed last night. And why not keep Nola in an extra inning? He was delivering fine. He wasn't losing anything yet. Take that chance. I think Girardi's weird. He's quick to get the starters out while they're really grooving, but he gives a lot of leeway to relievers who are struggling.
Now, well, I will say, Nola, after the 7th inning, he was at 101 pitches. So that could be something as to, like why, because
I know it's an antiquated thing. I know it's antiquated to keep a pitcher in as long as possible. And I've criticized Charlie Emanuel to the nth when he used to do it with Doc and Lee. But if they can still deliver, let them deliver. It saves on your bullpen.
Yeah. And, I guess that's true. I mean, remember the Mets also were the team that, the Nola struck out 10 in a row last year. Remember? So it's, he's obviously had some success, against them in the past. And so, and I know you are right that, when there was only 6 outs to go, so Girardi probably was just thinking like, well, all right, let's get some of our bullpen in here, and we can rest Nola because he looked good so far. Or maybe, who knows? Maybe he was thinking about opening day against the A's, where Nola went out for an extra inning when it kind of looked like he was a little gassed, and then of course the A's jumped all over him. Maybe Girardi had something in mind. Maybe he was thinking that that's what was going to happen. But you are correct that it's this mentality of things are all going to collapse is built into the Philadelphia sports fans. And who knows? Maybe that's just how it is with every big city. But it feels especially prevalent being a Philadelphia sports fan. Like the Flyers just had their worst year in franchise history. The Sixers they didn't really breeze through round 1, but they played well enough in round 1, and then, Embiid got injured right in the last game. And now, the Phillies obviously are not performing up to where they should be also. So it just hasn't been a good time, obviously, to be a Philadelphia sports fan. But then again, when is it ever?
So I'm gonna say something to you and the listeners that I posted on Reddit. And I'm gonna pose this as a question to you. Do you think Girardi's been exposed by the Phils?
Now, when you say exposed, do you mean that, like, the other team knows kind of like his tactics, or do you think like, or elaborate on that, I guess?
So if you look at that Yankees team he inherited, there really wasn't a lot he needed to do as a manager.
I see.
Because those teams were very good teams. They were great teams. They won a World Series for him.
Yep.
Do you think he's not actually that good of a manager in hindsight because of how he's handling this Phillies team?
It's very possible, but and you are correct that in 2009, when the Yankees beat the Phillies in the World Series, I mean, he had how many great players on the team? He still had Jeter on the team, obviously. Posada, I think, was still catcher. Hideki Matsui,
Sabathia, Teixeira,
right. These
A-Fraud.
people, A-Fraud. That was not a home run. That hit the camera, darn it.
Oh, don't even get me started. Don't.
I know. But I mean, so he inherited a good team, a team that had already played together for a while and gelled. They just, never really made like the big run to the World Series. And that team, I think, won. They still won that year, 102 games. So it's not like they were like a 90 win team that just kind of squeaked into the playoffs. They were just a very good team. But now you are correct that I do think Girardi has his faults, and I think that in the first year that he managed the Phillies, because he was supposed to be a guy when he came in, that he was supposed to be somebody who he was supposed to be on the analytics side, but also had the gut side also. He was a former catcher. He knew what he was talking about, or so we thought.
It was sold to us as the best of both worlds. We were getting a Charlie with the analytics, is what it was sold as.
Yes, and I've
excited. Seen no Charlie.
Yes. You are correct about that. And now I feel like now he's more analytics and no gut anymore. And it's weird because this is somebody who he won pretty much at everywhere else, I mean, he won World Series titles with the Yankees. He won managing the Yankees. And to be honest, I can't remember how the Yankees did the year that he left the Yankees, though, because I think they were their success was starting to dwindle, and then he was let go. But I can't remember exactly what their record was. But now look at then, switching tactics a little bit. Also, let's talk about Gabe Kepler. Everybody thought that Kepler was an absolute disaster with the Phillies, and then now he goes to the Giants. He won 107 games last year.
I think Kepler did not fit the Philadelphia sports scene, and I even said to you, I think I even said to you before he was gone that he fits better on the West Coast, and that's good for him. He just didn't fit here, and that's okay. Like I'm not like a crazy Gabe hater, even though
I don't understand
his dalliances with coconut oil or something else.
Yeah. You are correct that I think he does fit better on the West Coast. He does seem kind of more like a West Coast guy, But but here's now. Let me go back to I want to go all the way back to 2018, actually. It was probably like right before, maybe right after the All-Star break. The Phillies were playing pretty well. I think they were something like 64 and 49. Now that was a Gabe Kepler era. And I remember looking at that team and thinking to myself, how are they winning? Because this does not look like, I looked up and down that roster, and I remember I kept thinking to myself, there's nobody really on this team that is like amazing or like a huge superstar, yet they're winning.
They were playing really well together. They were. And they had first for how many games?
Yes. And I remember thinking to myself, like, well, okay, they're going to go out, they're going to get like somebody like Machado or Harper, and it's going to really push them over the edge. Like this core plus, we had a superstar and we are going to go into the stratosphere. And, obviously now 4 years down the line, and it's almost like the exact opposite. It's like, I'm wondering now, when are they going to try and blow everything up? I doubt they really will, but
you know what? Last night I was talking to Brad, from Baseball Together, our main host here, and he said about when do you think they're gonna blow it up? And last night I was against it. This morning I'm so disgusted. I'm not quite as against it as I was last night.
Yeah, and what really kills me is that we've watched we've watched how many years now of so Phillies baseball. I mean, they're supposed to be obviously, let's remember, because everybody remembers 2007 to 2011, but really it was 2001 to 2012 that they had a really good run. They had they were always in contention. They always either just lost a wild card or at least obviously made the playoffs later on. And now from 2012 to current, it's been pretty much like, I'm just sitting here tapping my foot. And the crazy thing is, it's not that they aren't trying, they're spending money, they're going over the luxury threshold, and yet somehow it's still not working. And that, to me, goes to like a larger failure, as we talked about many times of the farm system. It's becoming more clear to me that in today's baseball world landscape, you cannot create a team with just from free agency, which is what the Phillies, it looks like, are trying to do.
Well, and with that goes back to something I always talk about with the 08 team, is that they came up together, they gelled together. Rollins would have been the one on the main roster sooner, and then it would have been Utley, and then Howard, and then Victorino, and Hamels, but they all at some point played with each other at some point in the minors.
Yes.
So they all knew each other on their way up through the ranks. And I think at one point, because it was Wilkes-Barre Scranton then, was the AAA affiliate, it was the Red Barons. I think at one point they had Utley, Howard, Victorino, and Hamels all on the team at one time.
They might not have had Victorino, or maybe they did, because I think I remember, wasn't he on it was either the Padres or the Dodgers?
He was a Rule 5 pick from the Dodgers, but he played in the minors for the Phils. Because
I think he won MVP the year, like the 1 year down in the minors. I mean, not with the Phillies. But because I think that was when they finally decided, they were like, okay, well, we're not going to re-sign Aaron Rowan because we have Victorino waiting in the wings.
So Victorino played 2005 in Scranton Wilkes-Barre.
Okay.
He played 126 games in Scranton Wilkes-Barre.
Okay.
So he did play. So that might have been what you're thinking of.
Well, now, did he? And I can't remember. I thought he came up full time 2007. Or no, maybe it wasn't, because I think Rowan was the center fielder in 2007.
He was in 153 games in 2006 for the Phils. 2007 was 131 games. And then, I would say 2006, he was probably a Brad Miller type coming off the bench and playing utility in the outfield when Rowan needed a day rest or Burrell needed a day rest or so on.
Wow, I'm shocked to see that he played so often actually in 2006. But yeah, you're right, 153 games in 2006, because I never remember him as like a full-time player like that far back, but he was,
I remember him specifically more from 2007 on, but
yeah,
it's there. We can't argue it.
I know, but so where the heck did Rowan? Because Rowan was the center fielder then.
Yes.
and Rowan was the center fielder also in 2007. So where the heck did Victorino play? I guess maybe was he left?
No, because that would have been
Burrell
he would have been had to have been. Who? I'm thinking because
I know
I saw them in 07 and Victorino, Rowan, and Worth were all in the Phillies yearbooks. Were Victorino and Worth platooning in right field? I can't remember now.
So,
I where is my memory going?
I know, like, this is weird. Now, I remember though that with the 2007 team, or no, 2008, it was supposed to be Worth and Jenkins were supposed to be platooning, but then Worth just kind of ran with it, and the rest was history after that. So, and I don't think, and Rowan wouldn't be platooning, and neither would neither would Burrell, right? Yeah. So where the heck was he played? That's
I'm looking for a depth chart and I can't find one for the life of me.
Yeah, but we got way off topic on this with this conversation, but that's okay because it's good to remember the good old days when.
But unfortunately, we're remembering the good old days way too much now.
Yes,
we're so after 14 years since 2008, we're desperate.
Yeah,
we're desperate and we want it. And I just think these guys aren't gelling. I think Girardi is too passive as a manager.
Yes.
And I'm getting some heat on Reddit because I said they need someone who's gonna have a clubhouse airing out and who's gonna read them the riot act and have them have a come to Jesus meeting because something needs to get a fire under their butt. It's something I talked to you about today. I read those comments from Schwarber and I'm like, there's just no heart in that comment. It's just sounds like someone who's collecting a check.
See, and I do disagree with you on that one because he said let me read the quote actually really quick. Hang on.
It should be in your text for me.
I know. I'm scrolling up. I'm scrolling up. Okay. So Schwarber said, it sucks, but what are we going to do? It's over with. Move on tomorrow. We want to win the game, but it's like when we got no hit. It's just a loss. We've got to move on to the next day. We can't be deflated by this. We can't be down. Get some sleep and come back tomorrow. We've got 3 more against these guys. We can still have a chance to win the series. Now, I actually don't hate that quote. I know when you look at it, it probably seems like a pretty, I can tell why you would think, oh, well, this is just somebody who's collecting like a paycheck because we as Philadelphia sports fans, we kind of like the people who wear their heart on their sleeve and everything and who's gonna get mad and everything. But that's not always the mark of a leader. And because I was talking to my dad about the game this morning also, and he said the same thing. He said, "Well, we just have to move on." And I know, and it stinks.
After 4 years of hearing after every loss, God, I am Ricky Batalico today. After 4 years of every loss, it's, well, we'll get the next one. We'll come back tomorrow. We got to move on. Maybe you should dwell on this for a bit. Maybe you should live in this moment and accept your team's faults and hold everyone accountable. Have someone step up and say, you know what? We messed up. Where can we fix this? What can we do better? Well, we need to do better. These fans want us to do better. We're getting paid to do better. Why aren't we?
You know what? I hear your anger and I love it.
I'm so upset.
I love it. But what we really also need, well, for one, Schwarber cannot be leading off when he's batting 195. He cannot. I understand that he's a big on base percentage guy, but he's not really doing that right now. In fact, his on base percentage is hang on. And these stats were coming up so slow. It's all right, I thought I was going to find it. I thought I was going to find it quicker, and now I'm dragging.
Well, no, it's all right. I'll vamp for a little bit. So
vamp, Johnny.
And this is something that's bothered me for a while. Why is Segura not the leadoff guy? He's got the speed. He's got the pop off the bat.
Yeah,
he makes the most sense to be a leadoff guy on a regular basis.
Yes, and he did lead off a couple of games, so I don't know why. And that's one thing also with Girardi. It feels like he's just kind of spinning a wheel right now with the lineup. and like where it stops, nobody knows, kind of thing. Now, oh, by the way, so his on base percentage is 314, which for having an average of 195, it's not awful, but it needs to be better for a leadoff hitter. Yeah, actually, so Schwarber's OPS is 797. So that's actually not bad. Slugging is 483. So it's not like he's having an awful year, but he cannot lead off. But now the other thing also is that Harper, it has not been Harper so far this year. He's only batting 240, has 5 home runs, 17 runs batted in, OPS is 787. So
right, but there should be enough pieces surrounding him where it shouldn't have to rely on him. Like, I'm just
yeah, I know. I'm angry too.
So elephant in the room. Elephant in the room. We haven't really gotten into this. Let's say they fire Girardi.
Mm-hmm.
Do you bring in someone like a Sosha or a Bochy, or do you bring in someone from in-house?
I would not bring somebody in-house because I think they need a fresh, a fresh take on the team. So I wouldn't just bring in like a, excuse me, we need like a Jack McKeon to come in. Do you remember? Well, I don't know if you youngins remember anything. He was the manager of the Marlins back in 2003. He took over when the team was, it was probably somewhere around this time of year, maybe like mid-May or something like that. The team had just completely fallen apart. They were not playing well. He took over, and then they won the World Series. So we need somebody like that to really come in, shake it up. I would like to see an old school manager. I'd like to see somebody who knows baseball, who goes with his gut. And as you said before, somebody like a Dallas Green who's going to come and just, smack people around, not, physically, of course, but, try to like really ramp up a team.
Hold these guys accountable, keep them in check, and they need someone to rally them. And it's Joe if he's doing it, we haven't seen it.
Yeah. Well, and I remember a line from the movie Miracle, which is about the miracle on ice in hockey. And Herb Brooks was the coach, and his 2 assistant coaches were talking, and they were talking about how hard he was on the team and everything. And the one assistant coach said, like, well, maybe if they all hate him, they can't hate each other. Which I always thought was that's
a great line.
Yeah. And I always thought like that's something that a lot of teams do need, where the driving force to work together is maybe a manager that's kind of a, not such a nice guy, but maybe will get the best out of his players. Now, of course, that doesn't always work because look at Charlie. Charlie was, he seemed like he was somebody who he could read them the riot act when it was necessary, but mostly was a player's manager.
He was a great in between because he did motivate those guys, and those guys can still say to this day that as much as they wanted to win the World Series for the fans and for themselves, they wanted to win it for Charlie.
Yep. And I remember also that back in 2011 they had to sweep the Braves to keep the Braves out of the postseason, and because all the Braves needed was to win one game in their final series against the Phillies. They couldn't do that. The Phillies swept them. They got to 102 wins. And I remember the Phillies said, or I think it was Jimmy Rollins who said, we wanted to do it because we wanted to get the all-time win record for the team for Charlie, because they wanted to get to 102 wins for him. So.
Yeah, we better wrap this up here.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. In the end, I don't even know what to say right now. We kind of got off topic a little bit, but
we're feeling we're on the same end of the spectrum. We just have different viewpoints on it, I think.
Yeah.
But like every other fan, I think we're right there with all of you. This is frustrating. It's not good.
Yes. And I was on Reddit the Phillies Reddit this morning a lot, talking, and it was really nice to be around other people who are just kind of like, I'm just numb to it right now,
That's a great way to put it. Well,
yeah.
I'm not numb. I've been ranting all day, so
yeah.
I'm just so
Well,
annoyed.
it's funny because like I went to bed and I was like, how the heck am I going to sleep? Like thinking about this game, and like sure enough, I tossed and turned like all night. I was like, you sticking get back here. But yeah, like so let's wrap it up then. So whatever you're ready.
Yeah, you can find me every other week on the Not Another Sports podcast with my best friend David. We talk general sports talk. I'm sure we're gonna end up talking about the Phillies next week at some point too. Yeah, that's about all I got at the moment. You have some stuff to plug, I know, so go ahead, Tory.
Yeah, you can support the Philly Baseball Together pod. No, like that's exactly how I feel too. I was trying to match your energy, but you can support the Philly Baseball Together podcast and the Baseball Together podcast network by picking up a shirt at baseball-together.com/Philly-baseball-together-podcast. When you go there, listeners of the Philly Baseball Together pod can also take 15% off the Philly collection by using code FIPOD at the checkout. And also, as I said in our last session, I do have if you allow me to say it again, I do have a singing channel on YouTube where I try my best to sing as best I can. I'm the bearded bald baritone is what I'm called. So be sure to look that up also on YouTube. The bearded bald baritone.
But he's got a fantastic voice, people. Don't shy away. Listen.
Oh, please. That was yeah.
But
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, we want to thank you guys for listening to this special edition of the Philly Baseball Together podcast. Unlike Full House and Blossom, there was no moral lesson at the end of this.
Wait a minute, that was good. That was a good one. Yeah, did you just come up with that on the spot?
I did, yeah.
Wow, Fidel.
You can find the Philly Baseball Together podcast wherever you get your podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review. With this episode, it's out of here. It's out of here.
It is so out of here.